Download the AllStar app. Make your picks for UFC fights, challenge your friends, level up and win prizes. Link in description. Get it now.
All right, Teddy, you got this fight, Fury FC 90 main event. Talk
Yes,
about the
sir.
fight and what it means. What's on the line for you?
Well, we're hoping that with a win over this guy, with like a dominant win or a finish, that hopefully I'll get a straight shot to the UFC or contender series. Of course, I think I've done enough at this point. So far I'm 6-0 as a professional. I have 5 finishes, 4 of those being in the first round, and one of those is a second round submission. So
Yeah, you definitely been building up yourself throughout the years. You know, you made your debut 2019. Looked like you're supposed to make your debut way before that. Some issues, and then you took a pretty good break, right? Understandably with COVID and everything like that. But how was that time, man, between your debut to your second fight?
yeah, man. So the main reason that I took that break was obviously because of COVID, and then I ended up having my firstborn. So, I was getting ready. COVID hit, and then in between that time span, I was getting ready for the baby, and then dealing with the challenges of being a fighter and a new father. Just kind of getting into the groove and the routine of things, and a lot of it really was just the fact I had a lot of people canceling fights with me as well. So, on top of COVID, having kid, a lot of people saying no to the fight, and then just all those things collectively kind of made it a pretty long layoff, and then we finally got that fight, obviously, and I think it was a 3-year time span, right, between my
Yeah.
debut and then my fight, my second fight, and then got the ball rolling a little bit in that year, and got some pretty solid dubs. So
Yeah, life, balancing a new child and COVID, and especially during that time, man, where we didn't know a lot about like what COVID could do to you.
yeah,
Um,
exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, and that was the main concern. A lot of it wasn't just like me being fearful for the COVID. It's just I had a new child, and I didn't want him to get COVID and have effects like that. So I spent a lot of time, kind of in my own area, bag work, and a lot of singular training for the longest. So I didn't feel quite ready to get in the cage with, until I was fully, getting back to the groove of things where I had all the training partners and everything. But a lot of the time before that was still just because a lot of people were dropping out. I had a few injuries myself that kept me from fighting, unfortunately. But for the most part, I just had a lot of opponent cancellations, unfortunately. As the name of the game is with regional, normally good fighters, that's what they experience. So
Definitely, and dealing with like all the stuff that you dealt with in that 3 year span, do you feel like it's gonna help you, or it has helped you, like moving on with your career to be able to balance things out and not stress out too much, not get too much anxiety?
yeah, man. I mean, the main thing as far as like the 3 years that I gained is just there was a lot of development as far as skill in that 3 years. I actually that first fight I had just moved to McAllen, so I had a lot of new training partners and blah blah blah. So I made a lot of connections with a lot of people, and just the type of camp that I had. Like actually, I was in the process of moving. I think on that pro fight, I actually had just moved from Midland. I had just settled into McAllen, had like basically brand new coaches going into the thing. And I had one of my real close friends, Dr. Culpepper, that he was one of the people that cornered me and my new coach. So, I had a lot of really new things happening on that debut fight. So by the time the 3 years had hit, I had, solid coaching, solid training partners, I had a real good team that was helping me prepare for it. And I think that whole 3 years we were working, developing skills, and we had a much more polished and finished product by then. So
Yeah, yeah, you shown it, right? Since then, you just ran the table. You're undefeated. Clearly, you're doing your thing. And your last fight, right? Against Raymond Cardenas. That fight, man. Talk about that and like the challenges that he posed for you.
man, honestly, I don't want to not to talk down. I mean, for the most part, Raymond wasn't too much of a big deal for me. the things that I had going on before that fight were the main thing. So like when originally I was due to fight Cardenas for the Edinburgh fight. I think that was two fights before that card. I had like two opponents drop out, and then he was gonna fill in, and then he dropped out for whatever reason, and then they asked me to fight him as a late notice replacement, and I was like, is this guy gonna actually fight? Blah blah blah. And he finally ended up accepting the fight. So we had about a month to get ready, I believe, and within that time frame, I called I was at a food truck with my son, and I ate some fruit. And that later that day, or I think the next day, I started I started feeling real nauseous. I went to go eat some pasta, couldn't stomach any of it, and then I started throwing up all night. Like I threw up literally. I think I threw up like 13 times where I was like throwing up multiple times in those sessions. Couldn't put any water down. It was like 3 o'clock at night, and I started to cramp. And, my wife kept asking me, and she was like, "You want to go to the ER? You want to go to the ER?" I'm like, "No, I think I can make it to the morning." And then I started to cramp throughout my body while I was throwing up. And I was like, just take me. Like honestly, I felt like I was gonna die. Like literally, quite literally. And this was about 2 weeks out from the fight, I believe, 2.5 weeks out from the fight. So we went to the ER. They gave me some IVs and everything. They had actually told me that like my kidneys were bad. So I was like, oh man, I didn't come here for all of this. I just wanted to, figure out what's going on. I don't want anything that's gonna be career ending. So they're telling me my kidneys were bad, and then they did like a urine sample, and they got me the IVs, and they're like, okay, your kidneys are working good now. You have, I guess, gastroenteritis or something like that, and that's why you're puking and whatnot. So we just need you to hydrate a lot, get you on the IVs, and then we'll send you home. So I lost a few days just dealing with that, and my the weight cut was harder too because I had just gotten that like right before when I was supposed to be cutting weight, right? So I get into we get to weigh-in day, and I've literally cut like granted I'm trying to find a rental to get down to Houston, right? And one of my friends from Dallas, he had actually bought me that rental, and then they're like, "Oh, you have to have these 3 forms of identification to get the rental," and blah blah blah. And we're like, "Man, we can't even get down to fucking Houston." So one of my friends ends up letting me use his car, so we drive down there. We get down there at like 8 or 9 o'clock at night to start the cut. We got about 10 pounds to cut or so, and it's essentially it's cold. You know what I mean? And we're cutting in a hotel, so essentially it's cold. There's no real heat to get anything going, so we bought a portable sauna, and we're trying to cut the weight. And you know how it is. Like you start off cutting the weight, lose like 3 4 pounds. You get in again, you lose like 2, and then you start getting in there, and like you don't lose shit. You just sitting there like how can I be bathing in a pool of sweat and not losing any weight? So like I ended up making the weight, or actually not even making the weight. I think I was point 0.5 or point 0.4 off or whatnot from the weight at 2 o'clock, and I get a call or text from Eric, and they're like, "Can we do a catch weight of 165?" And I'm like, "Fuck no, we can't do a catch weight of 165." I'm like, I'm already 156, and I've already made weight, and it's 2 o'clock. The weigh-ins are at 9. Like, you could have told me this way before I started sweating to this point. So they're like, he's not gonna make the weight. He went to the ER, he's peeing blood or something. I was like, well, bro, I went through some stuff too, and I figured out how to make the weight. So I don't really think that's a solid excuse. And in the previous fight, he had missed weight by like 5 or 10 pounds. So I was like, this seems like a habit, right? So we get the weigh-ins, and I weigh in obviously on weight. He weighs in like 5 pounds, bigger, and he comes and talks to me, gives me a little sob story and blah blah blah. And I'm like, well, I mean, I made it happen. You should have made it happen, but oh well, I'll see you. So at the weigh-ins, we go to do a stare off, and I'm always respectful during your stare off, but I want you to see that like it's gonna be a fight. So I get in his face, and then he starts like kind of like headbutting me, like pushing his head against me. And honestly, I probably would have pushed him in any other scenario, but they were like, look, don't be shoving, don't do this, blah blah blah. So I just pushed back, and I just felt like it was really disrespectful because I'm like, if you're gonna miss weight like twice in a row and then try to act like this hard ass, it just really doesn't make sense to me. So anyways, we got in there. I was pretty emotionally charged up from everything going on. Like I was ready to get to him. So I started off with a psyche. I'm like, I'm gonna control the center. And I'm just gonna try to knock this dude's block off. I'm like, he's not gonna be in the type of shape I am, regardless of whatever. So a lot of it was just pressuring him. I knew the wrestling I'd get him because I've seen other opponents like beat him with the wrestling and ended up submitting him. So I was like, man, I'm gonna either hit him really really hard or I'm gonna I'm gonna grapple him and end up with a submission. But I feel like he was a little stronger because of that 5 pounds. But honestly, I didn't have too much trouble. What I didn't like about that fight personally, like, I'll tell people like I got the finish and whatnot, but I'm such a technical fighter. Like I really am. I have a lot of technique that I haven't really shown or gotten to showcase. And that fight, I just relied a little too much on my athleticism, and we got the job done. But it could have been a lot cleaner. So that was a good fight. All in all, we got the win. And when you're at this level and you want to go to the highest level, I try to look at the big picture. I'm like, man, there's going to be a lot of athletic people in the UFC, so let's rely on our skills and our other things as well as our athleticism. So it was a good fight. It could have been better. We had things going on in camp, but it is what it is. We got there and we got the job done. So
Yeah, man. People don't understand like the type of drama that goes on behind the scenes. You know what I mean? Because a lot of fighters they don't even talk about it. They're just like, it happened. You know what I mean? I don't want to. If you win, if you lose, like it's like some people, fighters, you know what they think. If you lose, it's like you're trying to make it. Really, it's not. You're not trying to make an excuse. You're just trying to tell the real story of what
yeah,
actually happened, right? And there you
yeah,
go.
man. I've
It's
had a lot of people drop out and stuff with me. And here's the thing, like I'm a type of fighter where like I'm always gonna have my stuff in order. Anytime I've ever had the dropout or anything's happened, I've always done my very best to get there. I've always had like a story because like a lot of people, honestly at this level, a lot of fighters don't want to fight. That's the truth about it, and that's why a lot of people get crap. But there's also a lot of legitimate fighters that have things go on, and they have situations going on. Like there's some scenarios where missing weight, I would even say, are semi acceptable. Like, granted, I think your job is to make weight as a fighter. You got to try to make it happen no matter what happens. But, it just, it's a two-time occurrence. Like, it happened last fight, it happened this fight. And then, honestly, going into the future after my fight, he also missed weight again, And this isn't a let's talk trash about an opponent type of thing. But,
yeah.
people try to play the game. That's what I felt like it was. He was trying to play the game, get the advantage, not, he's a big dude, so he didn't want to drain the weight the right way, but I'm a big dude too, I did it. So, fair is fair.
Yeah, exactly, man. It backfired on his ass.
Yeah.
Now let's get into this fight coming up. Devon Dixon, man. What do you think of him, man? 6-1-1. You guys are kind of in a similar situation, like you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, man, I think Devon's pretty good. He fought Bruce Whitehead, who was a pretty good contender in Fury last fight. Um, Looking at the fight, realistically, he was getting tagged for most of the fight. Bruce was catching him, and for the most part, I don't mean this in a disrespectful way. I do feel like Bruce was probably the better fighter, but he made some mistakes, and Dixon came and he showed that he had a ton of heart and made a bad situation, showed that he's durable and dangerous at any part of the fight. So I mean, I think the dude's pretty solid as just like a general contender for Fury. I think he's one of the like he entered in as one of the like, top competitors and one of the only people that'll fight me. So that alone I give him credit for. When it comes to matching up with my skills and athleticism and everything, I feel like he's clearly outmatched. I feel like I'm a lot faster, a lot stronger. I feel like I'm way more technical, especially when it comes to the stand up. The grappling exchanges would be pretty interesting. I feel like they'll be pretty back and forth. But I think when it comes to stand up and just the ability to switch it up and just the amount of experience that I have from my karate background, because you see, I'm a world champion karate, state champion taekwondo, and I've been practicing that since I was 6 years old. So like my ability to just switch things up, um, it's almost like I'm a completely different fighter. And no one's really gotten to see that within like the past like 5 to 6 years of me fighting. So no one really has the ability to prepare for something that just hasn't been there on film. So I think that we have a lot more in our arsenal. I've seen him go 3 rounds multiple times in fights. I know that I've seen his best because I've seen him go 3 rounds multiple times. I've seen him face adversity. I've seen a lot of things from him throughout the years. Now, when you look at my fights, I have a 49-second win. I beat a guy in under 2 minutes. I've really been running through people like with little to no effort. And that's not being cocky. It just is what it is. The one 3 round fight that I had was with Nico Echeverry, who's a former champion. And although some people might say that I ran into a little adversity in that fight, um, I've never felt in less danger in a fight than that fight. Like I was in no danger. I took like no damage. I wasn't being hit, which is why I was content to kind of chill on the cage and land my little strikes because I wasn't being hit. So like, what's the concern? So if you want to judge my adversity on a 3 round fight where I didn't take any damage, good luck with that. And that was such an easy fight to adjust to because what I will give Echeverry, I mean, I'm gonna be blunt. I don't feel like he came there to fight that day. He came there to like beat a prospect in a strategic way and get the win. Like not to try to not to try to bash him, but he wasn't trying to get contender series or anything in that performance. He was just trying to get a win. I think I hit him and he was like, "Man, let me survive this fight." You know what I mean? So it is what it is. I mean, he did the veteran thing. Yeah, I respect him for that. But I felt so much stronger than him in all those exchanges, and the only reason why I might have been a little more passive that fight is because that guy is known for going 3 rounds and 5 rounds, and all of my fights I've won in the first round. So I didn't want to give him an opportunity to lay and prey on me, considering that he's gone to the third round so many times, and that's kind of his game plan. So I fought it a little more careful than I would generally fight every other fight. But after getting out of that 3 round fight, I was like, I wasn't gassed at all. I was like, man, I can really push the gas tank. Like I've done 3 rounds now. I can really push the gas tank. So I don't think anyone will ever see a 3 round fight like that from me again. So I mean, at the end of the day, I just have so much more to exploit and see from him than he really has to see from me. He's gonna go in there and I guess go off the little information that he has, but there's not a lot that he really has on me, So I think I'm gonna win this fight pretty comfortably. I'm saying second round, a second round finish, however it comes. The cardio's great. We basically been getting ready for a fight for 4 months in a way because we were scheduled to fight March 24th, and then we couldn't find an opponent. Then we were scheduled to fight April 21st, I believe. They couldn't find an opponent, and then this one came about. So we've been getting ready for a long time, for this 5 round bout. So our cardio's on point. I think we have a much bigger advantage as far as the time that's taking to do everything. And man, I hit fucking hard, bro. I don't think people understand yet because I won a lot of my fights by grappling. But at the end of the day, most of these grappling exchanges happen because I hit people and they're like, man, fuck that. We'll grab him. Please just grab him. And they grab me and they figure out, all right, that wasn't really the best move. But man, in the time span of my last fight, because it's been pretty much a year since I fought at this point. Man, I've gotten a lot stronger, man. I've gotten a lot stronger, a lot faster. I just think I'm Chris. I think my footwork. He makes a few mistakes too in the footwork. And there's a few things where I assume every fight that I watch, I assume that they patch up like the big areas, like if it's footwork or they drop their hands with little things. I assume they're gonna patch those things up. My game plan is to be so dominant and effective at what I do that he reverts back to those habits, and then I'm just gonna, wash him out of the water. That's the goal. So, yeah, that's how it normally goes. So, that's what we plan on doing. The record, none of that really phases me. I feel like he's another dude in the way, and we do what we do, and that's what we finish people. So that's what we got to do. So
There you go. May 12th, Fury FC 90 main event, Houston, Texas. Teddy, thank you, man, so much for the time. And it was good getting to know you and and listening to what you've been through the last couple of years, I'm excited to see what you can do, man. Like, you've been doing your thing, and you told me like you're a karate and taekwondo champion, but you're facing dudes on the ground. Like,
Yeah.
what can we expect? We could expect something nice. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
man. Thank you so much.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you, man.